Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your patience. I was experiencing a little technical difficulties, but we will figure that thing out. But thank you all. I'm Lakeisha Mabry. I'm your host and founder of the Open Book. And y'all, I hope you are having a great Saturday. It is a beautiful day here in the DFW. And today I've been busy, but I think being busy has given me a boost of energy. So if you see me just a little more excited than usual, I've gotten in a little exercise today.
Okay.
And I am so excited. And today, y'all, we are in for a treat. We have guest author, and she is an entrepreneur. Okay, I said that the right way, I think.
Yes.
Of so many things. I was just talking to her about some of the things that she has going on. Y'all, she inspires me, motivates me so much. Following her, I have learned so much about being an author and so forth. And today, our guest is Miss LaToya Nicole. Welcome to the Open Book.
Oh my, I'm so happy to be back, y'all. I love it. I absolutely love you as a host. You were made for this. And
Oh,
thank you for having me again, by the way.
and you know what? We enjoyed you the last time. And, we're looking forward to one day having this on TV. So you're going to have to join us on the television one day.
Of course, absolutely. Catch this flight. Let me go.
Y'all, but we are going to have some fun. First of all, we want LaToya to introduce herself. Some of you may remember her. I believe it was at the end of last year.
It
Or,
was.
yeah, around
No, it was
Christmas or
all right.
November.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it was.
Because we were doing the 12 days of books and businesses, I think, during that time.
Yes,
And she
absolutely.
was our guest on that particular event. And so now she's back by herself. I think we had two people during that time. But y'all, she's written a whole another book, okay? And so she's busy. And today we're actually going to focus in on her latest book called Alone in the Dark, okay? So LaToya, tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Okay, well, hello everyone. My name is LaToya Nicole. I am an organizational coach. I'm a best-selling author. I am a belief therapist, girl mom. Yes, I have an 18-year-old who is also a successful entrepreneur as well. I am from Mississippi, but I've been residing in Baton Rouge, Louisiana for like over 13 years, I think. I love to read. I love to sun gaze. I love being outside in nature. I'm just all around fun person. Absolutely.
And y'all, I was telling her about her hair. Isn't her hair the bomb? Oh my goodness. It is
Thank
beautiful.
you.
And it's so
Best
vitalizing for the
decision I've
sun.
ever made for my hair was to lock it.
Really? I
Oh,
love it. It is so cute. So
oh yeah.
cute.
Thank you.
Okay, so recently you've written the new book, Alone in the Dark. So what inspired you to write this book?
Oh my gosh. Oh God, this is my baby. I say this, I've been in so many other books, you guys, anthologies, but this is my baby. This is the first one I did by myself. And I was inspired to write this because I wanted to bring awareness. I mean, that word depression doesn't really come up in a lot of households. At least it didn't when I was coming up. It may be different now because people are catching on. But I wanted to bring awareness. I wanted people to know that they don't have to be alone in the dark. And I wanted to encourage others to share their story unaltered, which is the name of one of my businesses, Unaltered Voices. It's so much healing in talking about the things that we've gone through. And not only that, it heals you and it can liberate others. So that's why I wrote this book.
And looking at her book, and I actually have a copy of it
Mhm.
called Alone in the Dark. And I love this first part that you started off with in the chapter Fleeing Darkness. And I'll read just a little bit because this is so true. It is a fact that suicide has increased among Black youth over the past 20 years. Sadly, Black people are less likely to pursue treatment. It is too late when most realize they are experiencing depression. Black households do not acknowledge depression. That is so true. It is called everything, making it hard to treat. This ignorance leaves many in the dark concerning their mental health. They do not know what to do or where to turn because seeking professional help labels them crazy. And I totally agree with that, because anytime we talk about the word depression, it has a certain stigma attached to it, where people do think, okay, you could just shake that off, just get up, do something. They don't really understand it. They don't want to hang around you. Or even the word mental health, we associate sometimes those words with thinking people are crazy. That is not necessarily the case. And actually, before we continue into our conversation, because that is one of the topics that we are going to talk about, is depression and what this book is basically about, and go more into that, I would like to share with you all a short video about depression. And thank you for your patience. That's the only thing, y'all, when you're with Zoom, you have so many clicks to get to where you need to go.
I know. It's just like, really?
Right. Here we go.
Depression is a disorder that afflicts over 10% of the world's population, but we as a society know little about it. Stereotypes tell us that depressed people are weak, unless they happen to be a tortured artist. It can be difficult to understand depression because it's invisible. It's a disorder defined by thoughts, behaviors, and feelings, rather than obvious symptoms like vomiting, rashes, or fever. Those who have experienced depression are all too familiar with comments from misguided friends such as snap out of it or just get up and do something. Even those with depression might have a hard time understanding what they are experiencing, and they often blame themselves for not being able to snap out of it. To understand what depression really is, we need to talk about symptoms. First of all, depression has symptoms related to how someone feels. These symptoms include nearly constant feelings of sadness, anger, guilt, or hopelessness. Next, there are symptoms related to behavior. They include social withdrawal, a lack of energy, low motivation, poor concentration, sleep problems, or significant changes in appetite. Finally, symptoms related to thoughts include poor self-esteem, thoughts of suicide, and loss of interest in regular activities. Symptoms of depression must last at least 1 week, and they are often cyclical. This means that the symptoms can come and go over a period of months or years. A person who experiences depression once is likely to have future episodes. It can be difficult to think of these thoughts, feelings, and behaviors as symptoms. To many of us, because they are in our head, they can seem like decisions. It can seem like someone who is depressed has chosen to be lazy and sleep all day, or they have decided to stop spending time with friends because they have a bad attitude. But remember, what's in our head isn't imaginary. Our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are influenced by a complex series of chemicals in our brains. The exact causes of depression are poorly understood, but we have an idea of factors that influence the illness. We know that changes to hormones in the brain, called neurotransmitters, can have a major effect on depression. Many medications used in the treatment of depression work by increasing the levels of these neurotransmitters. We also know that genetics play an important role in depression. People who have a family history of depression are more likely to experience the disorder. Just because your parents had depression doesn't mean you necessarily will, but the chances are greater. Finally, we know that environmental factors play a role in depression. Living in poverty, experiencing a traumatic event, or other stressful situations may trigger the disorder. That being said, depression does not always have a clear trigger, which often leads to a person not understanding why they feel so down. Treatment for depression usually includes psychotherapy and medication. Either can work on its own, but a combination of both medication and therapy has been found to be the most effective. In summary, depression is a disorder that's widespread but poorly understood. The symptoms can negatively affect a person's thoughts, feelings, and behavior to a debilitating degree. However, treatments that include medication, psychotherapy, or a combination of the two, can help to manage to eliminate the symptoms of depression.
Okay, so I wanted to give like an overview of what depression is, okay? And so LaToya, talk to us now about, or give us a brief synopsis of what because that's a running theme in your book. What is your book about?
Okay, well, my book, Alone in the Dark, My Battle with Depression, it's basically my story of the onset of the severe sadness that I experienced and how it went from there to unhealthy cycles in my life, just repeated cycles, and how those cycles landed me in a pit of depression, and then how I start clawing my way out. In a nutshell, that's the summary of the book.
Wow. And it's so good to even hear you using that word and you really being transparent and open about that, because and like they talked about, sometimes we do have periods of sadness, and that doesn't necessarily mean that we're in a depressed state, but there are times when we go through depression. It could be certain times of the year, if it's close to certain events, but then there's like a history, and even in the video, I learned that it could be hereditary. If your family has that in their DNA where you're always depressed, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it, but there are different reasons why people become depressed. And so you talking about this really opened up my eyes too. Before we continue, I wanted to read in your chapter. And I love the way you put things, because it almost sounds like you have a little poetry in some of these chapters. I was like, I love the flow of that. This is let's see, chapter 2, where you talked about if these walls could talk. Woo! Y'all, this is deep right here. It said, the walls hummed to release the secrets they knew. While we grew afraid and hid, they were ready to talk. Oh boy, where do I begin? Sadness is in the walls, trauma flows as a tub left running, pain circulates like the blades on a fan. And that is figurative language. The walls have, that's the teacher in me. The walls have collected the secrets. Walls, they're watching, listening, and they have a story to tell. Would the walls reveal the reason heads hung low, why nothing seems to work out, or who speaks ill of you when you are not present? Woo, if these walls could talk, my God. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Oh my God, if these walls could talk, because, and when I was writing that, now I will say this, I did a whole lot of crying while I was writing that book.
I can imagine.
Yeah, a whole lot, because it's almost like I had to go back to those places to write, to write that book. But and then it's more releasing, because I look at crying as a sign of release, so I love it. But when I wrote that chapter, this is what I had in mind. What happens in this house stays in this house. And that is a phrase most of us have heard. And that is a phrase most of us we've hung on to it so tightly that we don't talk about what's going on within this house. Because when we were told that it was about the physical house we grew up in, but then there's this house. Woo! And that's why we have so much clutter in this house, because we don't want to talk about it, because we were told what happens in this house stays in this house, which is just another form of manipulation, by the way.
I totally agree. Yeah. And in a moment of transparency, because when I thought about this, I kind of thought about a part or a season in my life where I could really say that it was outright depression. And I did not know how to get out of it. And it started with a breakup. It was a guy who I thought, we would get married and so forth. And my family loved him. They were pushing for us to get married. I did want to get married and things, but I think that kind of at the same time pushed that guy away because guys don't really want to hear all of that,
That's true.
at a certain point, they're ready.
Right.
They're ready. And I'll never forget, I went to Houston because he lived in Houston. I lived in the DFW area. And we were at a park one day and he ended the relationship. And it was at a time I did not expect it. It was not that either one of us did something wrong, but it was so, shocking. And when I tell you, I went into a state of depression. Every time I would go to Houston, it felt different. And usually, like you say, when we're in the privacy of our own homes, we cry, do whatever. But it was to the point I couldn't even fake it, because sometimes we're faking life. I could not even fake it in front of my family. And I don't think they've ever in my life seen me in that type of state of depression, because even my grandmother, she was alive, and my mom at that time. And I remember them saying, I just wish it was something we could do, and if they didn't know what to do, they would love on me, hug me and so forth. Then I would go to church. I would come back home. I would go to church. And you even talked about in your book about going to church, and we thinking, we go to the altar, we're jumping, shouting, and that's going to fix it. And never, it really doesn't at that point. And so people didn't realize, even the people I went to church with did not even realize what was going on with me, because as soon as I hit my car, I cried all the way home. I cried in the house when I got home. And y'all, this lasted for probably months, until the point I had to pray. I'm like, God, I don't know how to get out of this. Like, I literally have to live. So how do I come out of this? So in your book, can you talk to us, or are thinking about your situation? What were some signs that you were actually facing depression?
I was, anybody that know me, very withdrawn. Okay. I would be, around one moment, and then the next they look up and where's Toya? Very withdrawn. I had no motivation whatsoever. Like when it came to goal setting, because I talk about that a lot because I'm a coach. And I can remember the times when I'm helping everybody else with their goals. And then here I am, I have no energy for my own at all. My eating was insane. My eating habits were insane. And I just wanted to lay around and sleep or wallow in what was going on, because during those times, I remember clearly, I only focused on what was wrong. It was like there was no solution for me, no finding a solution for me. It was just, this is what hurts me. So let me continue to dwell on this. So those were some of the things that I experienced.
Okay, and so, because I know you touched on it in your book, can you talk a little bit about that inner talk, how that keeps us in like a state of depression?
Oh, that inner chatter, definitely. If you constantly talking to yourself crazy, if you're constantly putting yourself down and like I said, dwelling on the problem, it's going to keep you down. But if you start affirming yourself, and how they say in the Bible, encourage yourself in the Lord and stuff like that, you'll start to feel little by little, the weights will begin to lift. It is not going to happen overnight, but one day at a time. Just start talking good of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Just think about all the good things about you, and then tell yourself that every day. Look in the mirror. I am this, I am that, I am this, I am that. Every time you want to say something negative to yourself, start talking good about yourself, because what that negative chatter does, it's going to keep you in a low state, and low states are the depressive states.
And that is so true. I mean, knowing scriptures, those are important too, affirmations. I remember one time working at Chase, and our building was shaped like a circle. And I went through a little depression, I think, during that time. But like I said, seasonal, some stuff comes, and I don't even know at this point what that depression was, but it felt like, in the cartoons where you have like the dark clouds, you see the cartoon characters and they have that dark cloud with the rain coming down. That's what it felt like Like I literally felt like a dark moment. And I'll never forget, I said, let me walk around for a second, because it was almost like a track on the inside. So as I walked around, God told me, okay, I need you to speak these scriptures and just keep saying and speaking the word of God. Y'all, God is my witness. The more I walked around and spoke those scriptures, I started feeling some light. That little dark cloud, I literally started feeling that moving. And even on the inside, my spirit man started perking up. Like seriously, the more you are having the positive self-talk, thinking about, and I know I'm probably one that will talk, and because I love doing things with excellence, I always try to find, okay, what can I improve upon? But sometimes let's just give ourselves a hand clap for what did go right.
Exactly. We got to celebrate those every milestone. I mean, I know it may seem small and minute, but it's really not. It's major, because those small differences, they make a big difference. It may seem tiny, but they really, really make a big difference. I mean, something as small as journaling every day makes a big difference.
Right.
It does.
And I love how, speaking of journaling, because you even talked about, I think you did some journaling through this process in her book, y'all. And please, and I'll show you how to order LaToya's book at the end. But she has spots where you have a journal prompt, if you all can see that, and space where you can write. Okay. So there are questions to have you thinking, and then you actually have a journal space in here. And then also you have the actual journals too, because I think you sent me one. Okay. So she has journals too. I told y'all she does it all. Okay. Shout out to everyone that's watching via Facebook Live. Thank you, Deborah. Deborah's on here. She's commenting. I see you, Deborah. Thank you for joining us today. And y'all keep bringing the comments, continue to share and like this video. We appreciate you all joining.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, let's continue this. So, LaToya, thinking about how you were moving towards being healed from this state of depression that you were in, were there any particular strategies or what worked for you?
Well, I'm glad you asked that like that, because everything doesn't work for everyone. We have to be willing to explore different modalities until we find one that works for us. And for me, I was in therapy, y'all. Still have a therapist, by the way. I have a therapist, I have a coach, and my coach, she did these soul detoxing sessions, like they would go on for a month long. And I was a part of that. And she helped me to work out a whole lot of stuff that was going on within, because like I said, it's that internal clutter that we need to start decluttering and organizing. And what else did I do? Journal. Of course, y'all know I journaled. And then I meditated. Like 5 minutes a day. And that makes a great difference. Just 5 minutes. If you can sit there long enough, it makes a huge difference. And I don't want to forget about what God provides in nature. The sun. Getting some sun. Stop sitting in those dark rooms all day, every day. That's only going to make it worse. Think about some bread and how fast it's going to mold in the dark. Go outside and get some sun. It really helps. Now, exercising helps too, y'all. But as you can see, well, I don't know if you can see it, but your girl don't exercise like that. I'm going to start though. But that does help too, from what I've been told.
Yeah, I am rolling over here because I love the bread analogy. Because now when I think about being in the dark, I'm going to think about being there molding like some bread. Okay. And when I tell you, you are telling the truth, because it's something about opening the blinds, even in the house. I do not like to be in a dark house. And y'all, my husband is the opposite. He keeps the blinds closed, but I go back and I open them because I just love natural sunlight. Being outside, especially right now, it is a perfect time to be outside. And I like how you even brought up in your book about music. So sometimes when we're experiencing those breakups, our favorite things to do, put on those love songs, and then we start crying.
Right. We just reinforcing the depression. We just reinforcing the depression playing those sad songs. No, you gotta play something that's gonna hype you up and get you dancing and moving. And it's all about, think about a pH scale. I know we women, we know about pH. And you know, the at the bottom of the scale is red. And I think at the top is like purple or something. So if you're down in the red, that means you're in a depressive state, you're sad. And you're listening to sad music and watching sad movies. It's gonna keep you in that red zone. But you want to listen to some stuff that's gonna hype you up. I mean, if your music is ratchet music, then listen to it. Okay, who cares? Just listen to your ratchet music to get you from that low state on up to that state where you're like, yes, I can do this. I can take the world by the horns and I got this. I can do that. And you want to keep yourself in that state because that is what's going to help you ease up out of that depression. But when we keep ourselves low and you stay down there too long, you stay in the basement too long, you're going to get trapped in there.
Right. I totally agree. And I even know, even with myself, because you brought it up, exercising, I have to start exercising and losing weight because that in itself can take you to a depressed state. And I'm, this is the open book. I'm just being transparent because that's what we do here. It can take you to a place, okay? But something about getting, okay, it's not going to fall off, but it's something about when I am in my groove and I am making those steps, it gives you a boost of energy. You may not have lost for 2 pounds, but you feel like you've lost 50.
Yes,
but you're
yes,
doing
and that's what it's about, because that's going to help you maintain that momentum to keep going.
Right.
Because it feels like you lost 50 and it's only 2. You're going to keep going until you actually see, well, oh, I done lost 50 pounds, y'all. So yeah, that's what it's about.
I love it. I love it. And then at the back of her book, y'all, she has some of the strategies that helped her overcome depression, tracing the origin of the depression. That's very, very good. Taking accountability for her role in her life experiences. Woo, it's a hard thing when you have to be transparent and honest about you. It's a step though. I mean, if we don't get to us in the root, it's hard to grow through that. I truly believe there is something about focusing on yourself first that helps you even with the other relationships and people that you interact with. Getting professional help is not taboo, okay? It's nothing making you look like you have to go to a mental ward. It is okay to get professional help. This one here. Stop expecting more from others than I did for myself. And I want to even add this. Stop expecting you from others.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
I think sometimes we expect people to do what we would do. And because they don't, then we get upset and then we start feeling bad. So that can be a cycle too. I love that.
And let me say this, a lot of times that when people expect so much from others, it's because they have done so much. And you got to be careful with that because you can borderline be self-sabotaging and people pleasing. Because if you're doing all that and neglecting yourself, you're people pleasing and you're self-sabotaging. So that's not healthy anyway. And then you expect everybody else to self-sabotage and neglect themselves. It's not going to work that way. I just want to say that.
Wait a minute, girl. Wait a minute. So that's a whole other, I want to even talk about that one event that people pleasing, y'all, that is a whole topic in itself, because you will be surprised at how the depression comes in and while we're around here being tired. I had been delivered from that a long time ago because it will wear you out. That's a whole show. Okay. And then you also added, I'm going through, I don't want to take up time going through all of them. And I want you all to purchase the book so that you can read all of them. I love this. Intentionally cried as often as possible. Talk about that.
Yes. And I mentioned earlier that tears is healing. It's an element, water. It's releasing. So when I read this scripture, and don't ask me where it's at, I'm so sorry, y'all, but it talks about your tears being a language. They are a language. It's like a prayer in itself. Your tears, because sometimes you can't vocalize, or you can't voice it, because there's a lot of people walking around that they don't have their voice because the depression has stripped them of their ability to speak. So you crying, and you're crying this language to God, and God is hearing this as a prayer. And it's releasing, because you have so much clutter. Remember, we're going back to that internal clutter. I'm an organizational coach, by the way. We're going back to that internal clutter. So as you begin to cry, something triggered that. So with that trigger, that was probably something you need to start working through. The first thing you're going to do is cry and release it. And that's the prayer to God, because you know something's triggered, but you may not really know what is it that's going on. And that's why I named this book Alone in the Dark, because darkness is ignorance, because sometimes we don't know what's going on. And the light is knowledge. So if you look on the cover and you see the person walking toward the light, that's because they've made themselves aware. Now I'm aware of what's going on because I'm going to therapy, I'm going to coaching, and I'm more aware of it. And darkness is also because sometimes we're literally alone. So it's like a twofold meaning. But that's what the tears is a language. Y'all cry. And if you feel burdened and you feel heavy, and you don't know what to do, cry. Just cry. Just get it out.
I'm about to throw my phone. I cannot believe it. This is good. This is good. Oh my goodness. Because I mean, I think back to situations. It's just, I'm a thinker. And you're so right, because I think we try to be strong, and we're trying to be there for everyone. You know, especially women, and we're more of the emotional ones. Men too. There's nothing wrong if a man does cry. So I don't even want to put that out there. Like, it's not okay for men to cry. Men need to cry too. Right. Okay. But I remember, trying to something was affecting me, but I think I was trying to press through, and just going with light. And then it seemed like the most like inconvenient time, or the time where I least expect, tears just started coming out of nowhere. Like literally just coming out of nowhere. I wasn't even thinking about the situation. And sometimes we're holding things in, not knowing that we need to release that. I needed that cry. And God, He's so, careful about us and knows everything. He interprets what every cry means, every no means, what we don't say, because we can hide things from everyone else. We can put on makeup. You even talked about this in the book. We can put on makeup, we can dress it up, we can shop it up, we can do whatever to try to hide what's really internally happening with us. But one that you will not get away from, and who can see past all of that, is God Himself. He can see everything that's happening within us. And sometimes He's just waiting for us to come into agreement with what He already knows.
Right. Exactly.
Waiting, you know what the situation is. So thinking about being transparent, okay? We all need at least one person in this life. I know we can talk a good game and say, I don't need anybody. I got God. I don't need anybody else. Yeah, God is always there. He said He never leaves nor forsake us. However, it's not good for a man to be alone, okay, in this life. So why is it important for us to be transparent with at least one person, even if we don't want to tell our family and friends? Going to a counselor, maybe our best, bet, or whatever we want to do, because everyone is different. Why is that important to be transparent?
I mean, imagine going to a counselor and you sitting in there pretending like nothing's wrong. So if you're not transparent about what's going on with you, how can you heal it? How can you help it? I mean, if you won't be open and transparent about what's wrong, how can anyone provide you practical applications to come out of whatever it is that's going on? I mean, we got master degrees in faking it till we make it. And I think that is what keeps a lot of us in that low state. Like you said earlier about the different masks we wear, we do so much to cover up when all we need to do is just take time to sit down with ourselves and unpack this stuff. I mean, it's gonna feel a little rough at first, because imagine having surgery with no anesthesia. That's kind of what it's gonna feel like, okay? But it's for our good. But if we walk around here pretending like nothing's wrong, we got it all together. Oh, God is good. My business just made $15,000. Child, please, what's going on with your soul? Because if your business just made $15,000 and you got a whole lot of clutter going on internally, you're going to blow that trying to cover that. So what's the point? I'm just saying, what's the point?
You are speaking the whole truth, okay? I am tickled, but it's because it's the truth. I never heard that. You're gonna blow that.
I mean,
It is good. That's real talk, y'all. I'm telling you, you get it here at the open book. We keep it real, okay? So thinking about your book, okay, what are two like important things? Because we want everyone to, of course, purchase her book, Alone in the Dark. If you haven't heard, we have the LaToya Nicole with us today, and she's talking about Alone in the Dark. What are two things from your book that you would like to share with us?
Two things from the book, just to summarize it in a nutshell, like I would like to say that you can rewrite the narrative, definitely. How you grew up and what you were exposed to, because most of the time, a lot of us that's battling depression like I did, is because it was conditioned. We were conditioned for it already. It was probably passed down when you were in your mom's womb, because everything she felt, you felt it, everything. So you can rewrite that narrative. That does not have to be your story. The predispositions does not have to be your destiny. Let me put it like that. That's one thing. And then the other thing is that you don't have to be afraid to use your voice and vocalize what's going on with you. That is the most liberating thing that I have ever done, is tapping into my voice. Because pains, traumas, disappointments, letdowns, all of that, it strips you of your power. But when you get that power back and you put it in something like a publication or a blog or a podcast, or you just go out and you start ministering to people, like however you want to use your voice. So those are two things that definitely in this book you can take from this book and know that you do not have to be alone in the dark. Because I'm here.
Oh my
okay?
goodness. I love it, y'all. And when I tell you the titles themselves, like if you go to the table of contents, and she does things with excellence. I can say every time she has sent something, her work, I love people that just, you can tell they put their heart into something. But y'all, these titles of each chapter, Undetected, If These Walls Could Talk, The Isolated Trap, Medicate My Pain, History Repeated, Church Tales, okay? And this was stuff in that chapter, I was like, Breaking Free. Baby, no, it was true. It was good because it's real talk. And we need people to be real with us, because, oh my gosh, it's going to break so many, just giving people new perspectives of their lives. Y'all, please. And so what I want you to do, I need y'all to order this book. I'm about to give you the information, okay? Because we want to come out of this, okay? If you're in a state of depression, you do not have to stay there, y'all. You don't.
Right.
You have people, we are blessed by others' testimonies. And it's not because of the people, but it's because of the God. The same God who delivered LaToya Nicole and allowed her to make it through that season. It's the same God that can help you make it out of that. And so just hearing about things that she's done can give you some ideas, okay? it may not all work for you, but it's also showing you, and it should increase your faith that you don't have to stay there. And so LaToya, her books can be purchased at Amazon.com and also on her website, www.LaToyaNicoleInc.com. Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
make sure that you do that. Now, if you want to follow her, you can follow her on Facebook at author LaToya Nicole, and then on Instagram at Solo Coaching. Okay. And she responds quickly. Okay. She's on there because every time I post something, she is commenting or like, and I'm like, yes, if I have anybody else, I love that. But before we go, we have a little treat, because she is not only an author, but she's also a coach, y'all. And let me say this. I want to publicly say this, and I hope she doesn't mind. But at the beginning of the year, I had expressed, or said, I should say, that I was writing a book. And I remember LaToya on her page saying that she wanted to be a blessing and sow into someone. Y'all, she sowed into me. And I can't even release this, because to me, this is money. This is one of her ways of, her income. It's a stream of income, but she talks about and gives free tips. Now, she does give free tips on her Facebook page, but it was a self-publishing action plan. And when I tell you, everything was laid out to the point that when I turned the actual manuscript over to the person that is helping me get to the next steps of it, he said, man, I mean, this only needs a little work. I mean, you've done a great job so far. And I'm like, really? But I cannot take the credit. She gave us step by step. Y'all, she has referrals, people in here that you can contact. I was just sharing with her before we came on a little obstacle that I'm facing. So she had a contact for that as well. So I suggest, okay, she's going to give us a few tips, but y'all listen to these tips, and I really want y'all to get in touch with her, because she is good at what she does. I'm not just saying that just to say that. And if you know anything about me, if I don't like something, I just don't say anything. I don't say anything negative. I just don't say anything. I'm a Capricorn. I'm honest. I just don't say anything. But if I really like something and it's really beneficial to me, I'm going to pump it up. Okay. So
thank you.
You're welcome. Now, I want you, like I said, this is your business. This is a stream. So just give us a little appetizer, a taste of what would be some tips or advice that you would like to share with those of our listeners and viewers and listeners that would like to write a book. What would be some of the main tips or advice you would like to share?
Oh, wow. Okay. So if you're new to writing, hire a coach. I am a book coach, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a book coach, but definitely hire a coach, because sometimes when we're new at setting goals, well, not new at setting goals, but certain goals that we set are new ones, we kind of get lost in translation, but your coach is going to be there to help you along the way. They're going to hold your hand from start to finish. And that is what you need, because your voice, I just said, that's powerful. So writing a book is near and dear to my heart. Miles Monroe said, if you want to live forever, write a book. So definitely you want to invest in a coach. You want to make sure that you have outlined, you've done your brainstorming and that you have outlined your book. That's going to keep you organized. And this is from an organizational standpoint. So if you have a book and you're writing a book about 8 steps to financial freedom, outline the steps. Okay, those are 8 steps. That's 8 chapters. So and in each one, you want to have some sub points. Like all of your sub points need to go back toward the title. Like it should point you back to the title, and then the titles of your chapters should point you back to the title of your book. So you want to make sure that you have an outline, and you want to create a writing routine. So if you're the type of person that you can go get an Airbnb for a weekend and be out there by yourself and write a whole book in 3 days, you do that. Okay, you do that. That's, hey, go for it. But if you're the type of person that you have a family, you have a home to take care of, you can't be packing up talking about going away to write a book, you want to pick 3 days out of the week, start with 3, 2 hours, and write. Make sure you have your word count, how many words you want this book to be. If you don't hit the word count, it's okay, because I would rather you not hit the actual word count and have some value in the book than to try to hit a word count and you're being repetitious. Because I'm gonna be honest, I read. If you look behind me, I got a whole bunch of books back there. I'm not reading a book and somebody saying the same thing over and over again. So yeah, no. So make sure you do that and just do your research before you publish. You want to research and make sure that the publishing route that you go is good for you, because some people that are organized, they can sit and self-publish a book. But if you all over the place already, I would not recommend self-publishing, and I'm just being real. And there's also a way to house your manuscript, and I talk about that in a video. Housing your manuscript, and this is going to keep you organized too, because you can set this up in your Google Drive so that if you're not at home at your laptop and you're somewhere with your phone, you can still type little stuff in there as it comes to you. So yeah, housing your, you're in the launch team group? I think I put it in there.
No,
it's in there.
I did see that, but I haven't listened to it yet. Oh my goodness, I love that.
Yeah, housing, knowing how to house your manuscript. And of course, if you need to know about that, you can definitely visit my website under the digital products tab, and it's going to take you to my PayHip account. And that's where I have a lot of stuff related to books. But those are some pretty good tips to start, definitely.
And I agree, to be honest, because I didn't know this. So I did speak with another author at one point, but I had just started writing one day. And she told me about the outline. The outline is a game changer, because I was able to think through what I wanted in the book and what to hit. Yeah. So then it made me type faster when I got to that part. Exactly. So that's a game changer.
Exactly. And also, let me say this, because I remember build your author brand. Like, if we just pop up out the womb with a book and people looking like, where did this come from? No, build your author brand. Get people prepared for this delivery before you just popping out with this baby, okay? You don't want to just, walking around here for 40 weeks and all of a sudden now you got a baby and they ask you, where did this come from? I didn't even know you were pregnant. Build your author brand, y'all. Build your author brand, determine your why, be clear about your message, and put yourself out there, stay in people's faces, build your readership through a blog. You can even do listenership through a podcast. Those are free ways to start building your brand. Get your website, your logo, your brand colors, your tagline, get all that together so you can you got to be on it, okay? Get you a media kit. Because I remember the first time I sent a media kit to somebody interviewing me, and they was like, Hoppo, who this woman?
Me, I was one.
Media kit. She was to be a media kit. Who is this?
Yeah. So funny. But I'm telling you, she does things with excellence. Like, y'all, and it was like really nice. I said, she's making me step my stuff up. Like, I cannot believe this. But okay, the one last question, because I know we're almost out of time. If someone is writing a book, how and they kind of get stuck, because y'all, it took me like 2 years. I wish I could have just gotten away and just finished it, but it was like I would go, then I would get to an emotional part. Like you said, sometimes you're revisiting different moments and it causes you to shut down. So if someone is experiencing some writer's block, how can they overcome that?
There are a few things that could go on with the writer's block, especially what you just brought up about the emotional part. I had to schedule a couple of sessions with my therapist during the writing process. And y'all, like, real talk, it only took me like 2 months to write the book. I'm just being that outline. I'm telling you, do that outline. That outline is the game changer for real. But I had to schedule a couple of sessions because, like I said, revisiting that really put me in a space where I couldn't really get my words out like I wanted to. So I had to go to therapy. You also want to look at where you're writing. Like this little room that I've made my little office, it doesn't have any clutter in it because physical clutter leads to mental clutter. So if you got crap everywhere, you're not going to be able to write. I'm sorry. So you probably need to clean up, get some decluttering going on, and only utilize the space for what you want it to be utilized for. If it's an office, get the bed out of the office. Because every time you come in the office, you're going to want to go to sleep. That's just how energy is, y'all. I'm sorry. And then another thing, you may just need to take a nap. Sometimes we just need to take a nap. Seriously, because we're going. We're at work, going. We come home, we have the children, we're going, and then we sit down to write. No, you probably need a nap, or you need to change your writing routine. You may want to get up a couple of hours earlier than what you normally do while the house is still. And you want to write then. So you may want to consider that too, or go take a walk, get some inspiration, go to the park and look at the ducks in the pond or whatever they're in and get some inspiration, go and watch the sunset. I love watching the sunset. Okay. You want to go do that. If you live near a beach, oh, you got it going on. Go out there on the beach.
I wish I did live by the beach.
Wish I did. I'd be out there writing books all the time. That'll become my second home.
But you are right. It does affect. I have to be in a place where my kids not running around and, have quiet time, like when they're taking a nap. That's when I got through this last phase. Like I had to be intentional. It was during break time, didn't have to go to work. And so you just have to do what you have to do, but organize your thoughts. I love that advice. I really, really do. Well, y'all, I hope this has been inspiring, funny, all of that to you and that you learned something. Most of all, I hope that you were inspired and encouraged. You are not alone. The title of her book is Alone in the Dark, but you will see in the book, she didn't stay there. Okay. There are ways to get out. Okay. But just know that there is hope. Anyone that's watching this, I saw a post this morning and I just started typing out encouraging words. This person was being transparent and honest that they were having a bad down day, like they just needed encouragement. So we never know who is watching this, or even if you're watching and you have friends or family, pay attention to people because sometimes they'll send cues as to here's some things going on with me. So just be sensitive to others. But y'all, hope you enjoyed this. We thank LaToya for being our special guest author today and entrepreneur.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Again. Anytime. No, anytime, girl. You can come on here because we still need to go a little deeper into the book thing. I want that to be a whole show in itself as far as you want to go into that. But we do thank you. And y'all, I thank you for watching. Those of you who are in the chat, hanging in there with us. Now, next week is actually Mother's Day weekend, okay? And we're going to have a special event. I don't want to go into too many details because there may be some people watching that will be a part of the big surprise. But y'all, we will have a special guest panel. We are highlighting a special Facebook group that has really, really been important, key to my life as I'm raising my children. So next week, be on the lookout for more details. And excuse me, I hope you all will be able to join us next week. But thank you all so much. We love you. Have a great weekend and get out and get some sunshine. Okay.
Please. Right now, today.
Right now. Have a good day, y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh my God.